we ended up flying, Susan and I, from 2 different coasts to Minneapolis. We ended up pitching, and they were super excited. They wanted us national. We'll be launching Q1 of 2026 in Target.
90% of the learning on all of those fronts happens after a customer touches your product.
Do you know why you exist on the market?
I'm Keith Cowing, your host and executive coach, coming to you today from Cornell Tech on Roosevelt Island for a follow-up with Siwat Siengsanaoh. I first spoke with Siwat on the podcast a year ago, and now we're following up with the co-founder of Recoup Beverage, Sneak Peek. He's grown his company 500% since we talked last. And today we're diving into 2 key unlocks for founders. The first one is community, how you can surround yourself not only with fans, but also with advisors and coaches that can help you make better decisions, act with confidence, and move twice as fast. And the other big unlock is unapologetically being yourself, both as an individual and as a brand and as a founder, how those 2 things come together to be able to share your story with the world. So let's get into it. Siwat, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
We talked, I think, almost exactly a year ago. And so catch us up. What's happened with Recoup between then and now?
We went to Expo West, and my co-founder pitched on stage at Pitch Slam. We won Pitch Slam. Expo West is one of the biggest food and beverage trade shows in the country. We got a booth there, and we were able to connect with a ton of amazing people, one of them being the Target buyer. And from there, we've had back and forths with Target.
Sounds like a productive trip.
Yeah. So we will be launching Q1 of 2026 in Target, and should be about 500 stores. So We're super excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Take us into the moment. People think of trade shows, they think it's fun, it's glamorous. If you've been in industry for a long time, it can be a boondoggle. As a startup leader, I've found it can be quite stressful. You're doing everything yourself. You're going in there, you're hustling. You have meetings at breakfast, meetings at night, work all day, no sleep. What is it really like to be at a conference when something like that is on the line for you? And I imagine you're doing most of this yourself.
Yeah, so my co-founder and I, with these trade shows, we usually fly in. We hire a team of volunteers to help with the booth. And then...
Where do you find them? How do you find volunteers?
So this one was specifically in Anaheim, California, and my co-founder Susan's out on the West Coast. So she reached out. There's a bunch of beverage community forums that we're all a part of. Naturally, San Diego is one of them that she's a part of. I'm part of Included CPG, which is a great community to be a part of. Startup CPG is also another great one. But we usually just post through those forums saying, hey, we need some volunteers for our booth. It's a free ticket if you're in the area and are interested in helping us out. And usually we get a bunch of responses. So it's been really helpful in that aspect. All those forums I highly recommend. It's the Naturally Network, Startup CPG, and Included CPG. Those are fantastic. And
even for people that are not in beverage, it seems like a great tactic of,
yes,
if you're a lean team and you're going to a conference, bring a little help with you. And there may be a lot of people that are actually excited to go and experience it and give a helping hand.
Yeah, there's a ton of people that are willing to help and want to go to these trade shows as well. So we allocate different blocks of time where they help us out, and then they can go and grab lunch and grab food, but also walk the show and network on their own. So
you have to buy them tickets to the show?
So with us, when you buy a booth, for us, we got a sponsored booth. And that was through Included CPG. You apply, they review you. It was fantastic. Then they give you a package, and that package includes about 4 to 5 exhibitor tickets. So it's Susan and myself, and then you have some spares to get for volunteers to help out. And in regards to the actual trade show itself, setting up is always a bear. You go in, you set up your booth. You do it day before. You ship everything over, or you hand carry things over. It's a lot of work. Sometimes you see the other booths that have a little bit more money where they just hire somebody, set something up.
They just show up in the morning with a coffee and it's
exactly,
all there.
And
I remember those days. You're like pulling up the banner, you're setting up the thing, you have your laptop, you hope there's a cord.
Yeah, you have a little cart that you're walking in with all your product put in the refrigerator. And so it's definitely a lot of work. And then the show starts the next day, and it's like nonstop sensory overload. And people are stopping by. You're talking to everybody. And that's like on the show floor. But then there are meetings outside that you set up with category managers and buyers and people that you want to work with that pull you away from the floor. So that's when your volunteer team, you train them a little bit, and they're supposed to help be the face of your brand at that time while you're away. And so like we had a Target pitch event, we had a Fresh Time pitch slam. We had my co-founder Susan did her pitch slam. We had the NCN, which was like an investor pitch in front of a bunch of potential investors. So that was like over, I believe it was like 3 or 4 days where you're back and forth, like, hey, it's your turn to go, it's your turn to go, I'll stay, and things like that. And then in between that, you gotta make sure that you've eaten, you're hydrated. So yeah, it's the good thing is that a food and beverage show, there's always food. So
a nice
that was
recoup
great.
at the end.
A nice recoup to keep you hydrated. So yeah, no, I mean it's a lot of work, and then to be honest with you, when you're done, you're just exhausted, and then you spend the next, I would say, 3 or 4 days just looking through all your notes, who you connected with, following up. Yeah, it's a process, and then it takes about a week to really just follow up with everybody, and then you kind of go back to your routine of okay, running that business.
Yeah. So let's talk about building the company.
Yeah,
a little bit. Before this, we were talking about you building an advisory board.
yeah,
And I think this is really key, both for people building companies, but also just as a skill as a human, to bring in folks around you that have the expertise, that have the experience, that have the knowledge, that augment your superstar skills. And so talk to me a little bit about how you built your advisory board and the impact that's had at Recoup.
yeah. I think building our business and building the advisory board just run parallel, and it's always kind of been something that's always been top of mind for me. Um, as I started this beverage company, I wanted to get expertise and a soundboard for people who I could reach out to when I face these certain challenges, get advice, figure out what decision I need to be made to make, and then execute. And I would say we've as we've grown and my network has grown in food and beverage and Susan's network has grown in food and beverage, we've been able to find more specific people that are experts in specific areas of our business. And that's been huge for us. This past year, I'm happy to say that I've had this advisor that I meet with twice a month, and I highlight the top 3 challenges in supply chain logistics. And we go over them. We figure out short-term goals and long-term goals. And to be honest with you, it's just been so helpful. And the progress we've made to accelerate our business over this last year because of his advice and his direction and his introductions has been unparalleled. It's accelerated our business far beyond anything I could imagine. So if there's any takeaway from that, it is finding those types of people who you can bring on board, who are committed to helping you grow your business, willing to help you grow your business by advising, not necessarily giving you the answers, but definitely providing you with the information you need to make better decisions. I think before we'd had these challenges or these I would say these problems that needed to be solved, and we'd reach out to 5 or 6 different people and get piecemeal answers. But now it's very much, this is my problem, and he has the experience and the expertise to provide me with, this is what he's done, this is how you should tackle it, these are your options, and you make the decision. And it's been unbelievable. If I had known it was going to be exactly like this, I would have searched earlier on for something like this, because it just weeds through all the noise and it helps me make better decisions. And I operate in the sense where if I have problems, I reach back out to the people I know who could help, who could provide advice, and then I lay out my options, and then I go back and kind of get their expertise, and then it's my job to execute. And that's then usually once I've kind of fixed my mind on executing, there's really nothing that can stand in my way of continuing forward and making those decisions. As you're executing and challenges come your way, I reach back out, but I'm full steam ahead, and I like that. I like that process. I like this mindset of, okay, this is a challenge, and you're working towards fixing it. So it's been great. And then because of that, it's allowed me to take a step back and look down at our business and say, okay, if I could take this in this aspect of where he helps me with supply chain logistics, what other aspects of our business do we need? And then it's identifying, okay, having a soundboard for sales is huge. Having someone that advises us on sales is huge. Having someone that advises us on marketing is huge. So then I've now reached back out and said, these are the areas that I need help in. Can you recommend somebody with beverage experience in this aspect of our business and in this aspect of our business? And so we're working to build that advisory group that's more focused and an expert in each area, so that whenever we have challenges or problems in those areas, I can reach back out, figure out a roadmap and a framework, and then full steam ahead.
This one advisor had a big impact. How did you meet him?
So Susan had pitched at BevNet, and she won BevNet, and they connected. He is an investor in Recoup. And once he invested, and I realized his expertise and where he's coming and his wide range of expertise in food and beverage, I asked him if he would be willing to meet with me twice a month on a Zoom call to help me with this specific aspect of our business and the primary goal of reducing our costs and increasing our margins. So it's been absolutely great for me.
And one of the biggest jobs of a founder is to make hard decisions with limited information.
Yes.
Quickly.
Yes.
And it sounds like he helped you get clarity on this so that you can lock in and say,
yes,
I know this is the right thing to do now. I just have to do it.
Yeah.
And you're in the zone.
Yes.
And then once in a while to zoom out and have that perspective is super helpful for you.
Yeah. I've always struggled with gathering information to make the right decision, but having that advisor, he helps me narrow what is noise and what's not noise and how to look at it, and then understanding the key components to making the right decision. And once I have the key components to make the right decision, then I'm usually not fearful of going forward and executing. There's always risk, and yes, I would say if you're 75 to 80% clear with the information that you have, then you should be able to move forward. You're never, like you said, you'll never be 100% clear with the information, but I'm pretty comfortable with not having all the answers, but understanding that I'm working my way towards getting all the answers and getting all the information.
Let's talk a little bit about the brand itself and your story. One of the hardest things today for everybody in beverage, in software, in any business is standing out.
Yeah.
There's so much noise. It's never been easier to start something. And in some ways, some things are just catching fire and growing really quickly. But it's also, I think, never been harder to stand out because there's so much noise everywhere. And I think it's really important for brands, for people to be unapologetically themselves. And when we talked a year ago, I remember asking you, ginger can be a polarizing ingredient.
Yes.
All your drinks are heavily based on ginger as a strong character and that flavor profile. And I said, did you think about whether or not that was the right choice? And you're just like, absolutely not. Like, it was the choice. Like, this was ginger, and that's always what it was going to be. And there was no question there. So there's some principled level approaches. And then there's things that you're going to iterate on. But from the standing out perspective and unapologetically being yourself, what have you learned through this whole process on that front about how to create a story, how to create a brand that's true, that's real, but also something that people can understand?
Yeah. And my advisor asks this question all the time, and it's kind of like, do you know why you exist on the market? And so we're constantly, Susan and I are constantly thinking about that. And I knew ginger was something I wanted because of the benefits, because of how it helped me throughout my life. And so we stuck and held firm and dug our heels in the sand for that aspect. And then the other thing I think that's more important now in the beverage industry is, like, you can turn and look at the back of our can, and there are ingredients that we all know and relate. Whether you like them or not is a different story. Again, ginger being very polarizing, but you can look at it and say, okay, there's watermelon juice. I know what watermelon juice is, right? There's nothing on that label. There should be nothing on that ingredient label that you don't know. And so that's something that we stick very firmly to. And that's something that we look to resonate with everyone else. Like, you can buy a bottle of Recoup, turn it around and say, like, okay, it's organic maple water. What's maple water? Okay, you learn about maple water. But for the most part, you know that it's a plant-based water. Organic ginger juice. Ginger juice is very polarizing, but people love it. Watermelon juice, pineapple juice, lemon juice. Those ingredients, everyone should not hesitate to be like, oh, I understand what this is. And it's simple and it's clean. We hope that that resonates with people and that is shared amongst other people to build a community of people that say, hey, Recoup uses real ingredients. There's no added sugar, no stevia, no monk fruit. It's healthy, it's clean. And they like ginger, hopefully.
If they don't, they're probably not drinking it. Yes. That's okay, because you're not for everybody.
Exactly.
But for these people, man, they love it. I love it. I love ginger. I love strong flavors. I like spicy, I like sweet, I like ginger. I'm trying to drink less alcoholic things.
Yeah.
Which means I'm looking for something that's pungent, that has a kick.
Yes.
That gives me that feeling at night of like, oh, this is nice. And so, you want raving fans, not everybody to think you're okay.
Yeah. And I will mention that we're also not a sweet beverage. We don't lead with this sweet taste. Mm-hmm. We're working on some new formulations right now, and the new flavors that we've worked with and some samples that we've gotten have this kind of sweet taste that stays and lingers. So we went back to our formulator and kind of said, hey, listen, like, this is not us. Can we go back and work on this a little bit more? We don't want this sweet flavor forward taste. We don't want that lingering in your mouth for a long time. So let's go back and rework that. But that's something that we stand by as well.
There's designing for your taste, and there's figuring out what people want.
Yes.
How do you blend that difference? Is this what you want and you're sharing it with the world, more like an art form, or is this figuring out what the market wants and building it, or is it somewhere in the middle?
That's a great point, because when I started out our beverage, creating it, it was heavily ginger based and very pungent, I believe. And what we found is people would give customer feedback. So that's always what we've always done, is we've always created things, tested it out with our customers, or tested out with people that we believe to be our customers, and get feedback. And now with our new flavors, we're doing the same thing. We're getting samples created, and we're doing these small focus groups, and we're getting feedback. I've learned when I first created it that is probably too much. Susan has come in and refined our focus groups and really tailored it to, I think, a flavor profile that is more to the masses, and I think that's super helpful. But throughout that whole process, it's always been reaching out to our customers, getting feedback, and iterating on that. And in our case now, it's reaching out to our customers, having them taste it, giving us feedback, and we reach out to our formulation company and say, hey.
What does that actually look like? Walk me through that feedback mechanism.
Yeah, it's getting samples in. We'll find a group of people that have reached out to us personally on our website and said, hey, listen, love your beverage. And we always try and create that community of, hey, well, if we work on new flavors or product line extensions, can we continue to reach out to you? And then most of them tend to be in New York or where Susan is, that are just easily reachable. We then send out samples to them with a Survey Monkey, or sometimes just good old-fashioned piece of paper. They fill it out, they send it back to us, or they scan it, send it to us. It all depends on how they want it, and we really just pull all that information together. There are common themes that usually show across kind of these samples, like not enough of this or too much of this, and this is what I'm thinking. And you basically just pull it all together, and you start to get an idea of what that group is thinking of these flavors. And we go back to our formulation company, iterate on that, send it back out again.
And do you think the people that sign up for that are representative of the general population that buys your product?
I think the people that sign up for that are the ones that already are enjoying our beverage and have given us feedback and want to be a part of our journey. And then from there, as they continue to grow with us and they have, I would say, a voice with our brand, then they can echo that to their community, which then brings more people in, I believe.
Underlying this, I see a thread of empowerment almost, where we talked about some of your heroes from a leadership perspective. And you talk about soccer coaches and people that get the most out of the players on the field and other folks around them and really empower other people. And when you talk about empowerment, you talk about, replenishing things like this. You talk about the planet, you talk about people. You really talk about playing a role in other people's lives and
Yes.
making them healthier, making them better. There seems to be an empowerment aspect to this, and something that means a lot to you.
Yes.
Talk about how that goes from your personal life and who you are to the brand and what the brand is.
Yeah, I think throughout my career and my professional career, I've always, every step I've taken forward in my professional career, I've always looked back to see if I can help pull somebody up. And so empowering those people, because I know what it was like trying to figure out my career path, and it was never a straight path. And I believe that for a
None of
majority,
them are.
yeah, I believe for a majority of people that it's never a straight path. So being able to provide guidance and being able to one inspire people, because I don't know if your career path or your professional career you need exactly the hand holding that everyone expects, but maybe it's just the options and guidance that people need to pursue their career and find what they're passionate about and continue to pursue that forward. um, the hand-holding approach I don't necessarily believe in. I believe in more of like helping somebody weed through the noise and identifying different ways to get to what you think you're passionate about, or what you think you're interested in, and then you make the decision on your own once you get close to it. Hey, this is not for me. Hey, this is for me. um, and if it is, then you continue to pursue it. If it's not, then you can always come back to your advisors and your soundboard and say like, hey, I tried this, it just wasn't for me, but there were certain aspects of things that I liked. Is that certain aspect of this industry or the challenges in there, can that be applied to something else? And maybe that's the industry I'm interested in. And as an advisor or empowering somebody that you're guiding, just constantly providing feedback that says like, hey, is this what you're interested in? Maybe it's not. There's probably some interest on this aspect. Have you looked into it?
And speaking of empowerment, teaching, we're here at Cornell Tech today. A
Yes.
beautiful, inspiring campus. You're a coach now for the
Yes.
startup studio,
Yeah.
where students are building products, building companies. You're here to give them some coaching, some mentorship, just like you got from your advisor, and you still do. First of all, what's with that? You're running a startup. You're also teaching here. Are you just a sucker for punishment?
I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. Is I always, every opportunity I get where I can help people take their ideas and turn them into something tangible, I usually would say yes to. Um, Reason being is because I look back on my own career path, and if I had known that these types of things existed, I would have probably pursued them earlier. And now more than ever, they're available to people, and there is interest, hence this whole facility, this whole campus of people who are all about their ideas and trying to test them and iterate on them and turn them into something tangible. And I do want to be a part of that. And I want to be a part of it in a way where I can guide people, at least advise and steer people to take risks and let them know it's okay to make mistakes. And I think this whole campus is all about that, and a net for people to say you can take these risks, and it's a safety net that you can fall back on if you make mistakes. When you don't have this safety net and this guidance, you're taking these risks, and it's really scary sometimes. And in this case, it's still scary, but you have people around you that are there supporting you, and this is a great support network.
I think one of the most powerful things you can do in life is bring down the bar of how much of a risk it feels like, so
Yeah.
you can let people's creative spirit out, either on a team, like let's just brainstorm. The whole point of brainstorming is you're not judgmental,
Yes.
therefore it's not risky. And then when you pick one, you actually place a bet on it. Yeah, there's some inherent risk on that, but at the beginning you have to bring the bar down.
Yeah.
And being a student is a great form of that. I'm always telling my students, this is a low risk environment. Let's try stuff. It's the whole point of being here.
Yeah.
I even try stuff from a teaching perspective that maybe I'll implement somewhere else, facilitating leadership workshops. But hey, in the classroom, it's an amazing petri dish for all of us to just try things out. So
I remember being in class, being a student in my MBA program, and our professor was like, "Just so you guys know, the decisions you make here, if they're wrong, you're not losing millions of dollars at a company.
yeah,
You're not going to get fired. It's okay to make mistakes here." And that was early on as an MBA, and that just completely rewired my mindset. to take bolder risks, to at least have these assumptions and these hypotheses that were very bold, and go out and test them in this environment. I was cold emailing everybody just to kind of in different industries, just to get an understanding of like, hey, like what are the pain points in this industry? This is what I think they are they? And it was totally fine. I think outside of it, of this environment, they would have looked at that email and been like, who is this person?
So looking at young people that are building their own relationship with risk and what it means to take risk, and also assessing what are the real risks here? What are the downsides? What are the upsides? How would you advise somebody to change their relationship with risk so they can take the little risks constantly that ultimately get them access to things they wouldn't otherwise have access to, and really don't have as much of a downside as our monkey brains would tell us?
I think it's your network. I think it's a community of people that you build around you that listen to you and advise you. I think that's the most important thing.
And you think that helps them get the confidence to be pushed a little bit, be nudged a little bit?
Yeah, I think yes. Specifically towards with my advisor, and that has been kind of providing us direction at Recoup. I like the fact that he's direct, and I like the fact that I can go with him with my problems and then get the perspective I need to make the right decision. So that goes again with the community and the network that you build, that you stay close with. Yeah, it takes time, but I think that community that you build, that you curate for yourself, is super helpful. I think it's the most important thing.
The people who are starting companies or building products, I frequently see this view that it's either you jump off, the edge of the building with a parachute or nothing. It's like all or nothing, and it feels like this huge risk. And almost always there's some 1 hour thing you could do that's really no risk at all.
Yeah.
It just gets you started. Just send that email. Just have that conversation. Just
yes.
let somebody interact with the product. Just make one juice and give it to somebody. See what they think of it. And then you get the momentum and you get the laddering up. And I think there's sort of a lot of misconceptions about risk.
Yeah, I think what people forget or don't think about is the feedback loop that you get when you start. People always assume that you start and then you just keep going forward and there's nothing in between, right? You start and then you either succeed or fail, and there's nothing in between. But as you start, as I created a juice, I had people try it. You got that feedback. I really like it. Okay, that's reassuring to you. Or I would change this. So you go and change it. You go back out. Oh, this is better than last. That should be reassurance, right? There's always these different feedback loops to help you kind of reinforce the fact that you're onto something, right? And if the feedback isn't exactly what you think it is, then you go back, you iterate, and then you go forward again to get the feedback that is reassuring. So there's always these ways to come back to say like, oh my God, like I'm on the right path or I'm not on the right path, right? And if I'm not on the right path, what is it? Then you go back and listen some more, ask more questions and things like that. So if you look at it that way and you parcel out all these different steps, the risk isn't as risky as beginning it, right?
That used to be one of my biggest critiques of business school was, as somebody who's in the software business, building product, leading a team, and selling are the most important skills. Everything else in a business is a rounding error. It's like build, sell, lead.
Yep.
And 90% of the learning on all of those fronts happens after a customer touches your product.
Yes.
And in school, if it's all simulated, it's like, okay, we're studying business history. That's fine. It's interesting. But the real learning comes from the second you build something and you show it to a customer and you try to sell it to them.
Yeah.
And then you get the real feedback, not simulated of what would you think of this? Like literally, I want $1 from you. Will you give it to me? And then once you have that iteration loop, which is why I'm so excited about this campus here, of building product, getting it out in the world, actually making things that people interact with, that's where a lot of the real learning comes from. And I find a lot of folks are either all simulation, where they don't have the feedback loop, or they're out iterating in the world, but they don't have coaching and advising to give them a framework to take that feedback and really learn and get better from it. They're just doing the same thing again and again.
Yeah.
And so being able to get that rhythm of feedback and learning is quite an art, I think, in your life.
I agree. I also think one of the exciting things about being the studio coach at Cornell Tech is that I have 10 groups, and they are in the ideation phase now, and we'll get to the building phase. And then the next step, once they build, is to go out there and put it out there and test it. And I think that is going to be the most inspiring thing for these guys, is that they're going to test it. People are going to give feedback. They're going to use it. That alone in itself, from ideation to testing, should be an accomplishment for all those people in that group.
Totally.
Right? Because how many people spend so much time stuck in this infinite loop of ideation without ever building anything? And you'll never get anything. You'll never get to the next phase unless you build something and test. And so I'm really excited for the groups that they'll be going out there and testing and learning, because they're going to get real answers and they're going to get real feedback, and then they're going to go back and iterate and continue to push forward.
How are you thinking about community today in terms of brand, in terms of your life, in terms of advising other people?
Yeah. I've broken it down to, as a brand of Recoup, Susan and I are always trying to reach out to the people that support us, that are purchasing us, and whether it's through social media, on our website, reaching out, LinkedIn, things like that, is just making sure that we are keeping people informed about the progress we're making, some strides we're making, whether it's in the future new flavors, or whether we'll be at a trade show, we're at a retailer, checking in on a store. Come say hi if you find us. Like, we'll be at Wegmans, and Susan will post Siwat's at Wegmans. Like, go and say hi if you see them. Things like that. We'll be there. We're doing demos. So that's how we stay in touch with our community. From a mentor standpoint, it's opportunities like this, being part of Cornell Tech's studio, being able to guide these 10 groups. And yeah, I think if you make an effort to go out and really engage with people, then I think you'll find other people that want to be engaged by you. So that is how I have always viewed the community, of both on my professional side as a mentor as well as on the business side.
Siwat, I think these are great pieces of advice and nuggets for people building companies, but also just anybody, about how do you build an advisory board in your life for whatever you're building? How do you stand out and have your own taste and just unapologetically be real about what you're doing and share it with the world with a little bit of feedback and maybe a slight adjustment to, fit what people want, but with the fundamental anchor being set, and how to teach them and build a brand and build a community. All of these are timeless skills that are a huge part of building a business, building a brand, also just building a career, any kind. So thank you again for joining. And last time you talked about getting a little bit more distribution. That was a year ago. Now you're here talking about target buyers and sort of, act 2 curtain call, this little drop about maybe new product lines. So I look forward to hearing from you next year and seeing what's next for Recoup. Congrats on all the progress.
I'd love to come back next year. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yep.